All right. Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday morning. Thank you all for participating in the poll that we just had on the screen for our peer-to-peer fundraising starting over in a brand new world. We will get to those answers in just a moment. Just wanted to welcome all of you and say that Turnkey tries to bring you information that can help you and your organization be more successful. And that goes double during our current COVID-19 pandemic. Today, we are addressing the brave new world of peer-to-peer fundraising. Before I introduce our speakers, just a couple of things. First of all, we are recording this webinar, and we will share that recording and the PowerPoint deck with you on Monday. So you don't have to worry about taking notes. You don't have to worry about screenshotting. We're going to put all of this information on our COVID-19 resource page. Also, we want this to be an interactive session. So while we're going to be delivering a lot of really good content, we also want to hear from you. We want to answer your questions. We want to get your input. So the best way to interact with us during this presentation will be the Q&A icon, which is either at the top or the bottom of your Zoom screen. If you use that function to ask a question, we will be sure to get to it. Okay, so first off, we have Katrina Van Huss, who is CEO of Turnkey. She has been developing revenue programs for organizations like the American Lung Association, Arthritis Foundation, and March of Dimes since 1989 when she founded Turnkey. Her client successes and her dedication to research have made her a sought-after speaker. She also regularly shares her wit and business experiences blogging for Nonprofit Pro, and she is the co-author of the 2017 book, Dollar Dash, The Behavioral Economics of Peer-to-Peer Fundraising. We also have Megan Rouse, who is the Director of Partnerships and Strategist at Turnkey. She has specialized in peer-to-peer fundraising for most of her career. She has worked and created significant revenue growth for LLS's Team in Training's Marathon program, and for Susan G. Komen's Race Series, as well as Komen's national DIY fundraising efforts. Since joining Turnkey, Megan has helped increase peer-to-peer revenue at numerous organizations, as well as launch several new DIY campaigns. I will now turn it over to Katrina.
All right, welcome. Thanks everybody for being here. I see a lot of friends' names on the participant list, so I'm glad you're here. Let's just take a breath. Wow. So as you take your breath, I think what we all must acknowledge is that we're about to get into some really hard work. And the question is, as we do that hard work, are we just trying to get back to normal? Are we just trying to take what we've done in the past and create the closest facsimile of it that we apply today? And will that work? And I am going to give you an unqualified no, that will not work. Smart person Eric from MIT said this: the pandemic forces people to overcome the switching cost, figure out something new and say, hey, this is way better. Switching cost, what are they? They are quite literally the cost of changing from the old way to the new way. Considerations like sunk cost, habit, and fear of change make us stick with what we know. But here is our reality. Office employees logging in from home may reshape the American workplace. The top downloads of Apple's App Store last week included video chat services. These climbed from 32 million to 44 million in 1 week. That was 2 weeks ago. What is it today? Some experts expect more than 25% of employees will continue working from home multiple days a week after this crisis is over. Disney, which has closed theme parks and suspended cruises and canceled events and delayed film premieres and mothballed production of most of its movies and TV shows, told security regulators last week that the pandemic could lead to major changes in consumer behavior. Another smart person, Deborah Tannen from Georgetown University, said this: the comfort of being in the presence of others might be replaced by a greater comfort with absence, especially with those we don't know intimately. Instead of asking, is there a reason to do this online? We'll be asking, is there any good reason to do this in person? And we might need to be reminded and convinced that there is. She continues, unfortunately, if unintendedly, those without easy access to broadband will be further disadvantaged. The paradox of online communication will be ratcheted up. It creates more distance, yes, but also adds more connection as we communicate more often with people who are physically farther and farther away and who feel safer to us because of that distance. Soon, our world will change to this. It will be normal to vote online. It will be normal to see a doctor online. It will be normal to exchange medical information online. And one of the things that we have to remember in the nonprofit industry is that it's not easy for everyone to be remote. 41% of us in nonprofit were already remote, and another almost 12% were sometimes remote. And it's hard to tell me that not every single person in nonprofit works at night remotely. So our industry was uniquely prepared to do this. The rest of the world was not. If we overlay our comfort to our audiences, we do so at our own peril. This is a poll from November of 2018. What it says is that people preferred to communicate in person. And then next was texting and a phone call. And way down at the bottom was video chat and social media. If we took this poll 3 weeks ago, it probably looks similar to this. If we took it today, it would look really different. How many people like my mother ranked video chats low because she had never done it? Now today, my mama is loving her some video chat because that's the only way she gets to her grandkids. And she's realizing she can get to them more. Likewise, this survey didn't even ask about the ways that people communicate today. They didn't even quantify it, even though they existed in November 2018. Channel-based systems like Discord, Slack, Messenger, didn't even ask about that. And the survey doesn't tell me what technological or situational limitations were on the survey takers. Imagine if we applied this today, even against 3 weeks ago. It would look very, very different. So what has happened? What's happened to our events is that our natural filter has flipped. Consider this. The average age of constituents of most of our events, well, they look a lot like me. I'm 57 years old. And why is that? It's because people like me were the people who designed our products and our communications methods. They were built by and for the comfort of people like me. The dynamic I'm describing is what I call a natural filter. An analyst described it to me once this way. A natural filter is, for example, when every person you survey lives in one city block. The city block is your natural filter, which needs to be acknowledged. We, in the design of our events and the way that we promote them, have created a natural filter and a self-fulfilling prophecy. We built for people like us, and we ended up with people like us. We decided, without knowing it, what our average participant or donor age would be with the design of our product. We ask people to participate in the ways older people do, sometimes enforced by the communications methods that older people tend to, like email. The only way I can get an email response from my two young adult sons is to text them and ask them to read my email. It is not their communications tool for their personal life. And we and our events are part of their personal life. And is it true that young people give less generally? Maybe. Or could it be that we are just calling people who don't answer the phone? We're emailing people without an inbox. We are speaking in ways they can't hear. We're shouting into rooms where they don't reside. Mother Nature has flipped the filter. Now, the non-online people are filtered out unless they adopt the onliners' methods. Our current products, designs are like buggy whips when all the horses died. Our job is to create a customer experience that these people are interested in repeating and that they have access to get to. So I struggled and struggled to come up with an image that would help explain what I'm talking about. Mother Nature flipped our filter. This is what it looks like. Unless we redesign the natural filter of coronavirus, we'll keep our traditional audience away. We can't switch a walk to a virtual event without anticipating that we will lose many of our traditional participants because they won't make it through the filter. If we don't redesign those walks to help those who can't get through the filter, we will suffer devastating losses in participation and revenue. Let me say that again. If we don't redesign, modify, enhance, whatever, those walks to help those who can't get through the natural filter, we will suffer devastating losses in participation and revenue. Our job is to help them participate. What must we do? 3 things. Number 1, we have to understand how communities work virtually. Number 2, we have to engage in those communities that exist. And number 3, we have to help all achieve participation in either one of those existing communities or a new one that we build. How does community work now? When my 2 sons reached driving age, I was astounded that they weren't that interested in getting their licenses. It wasn't important to them. They didn't care. But for me at that age, getting my license represented greater connection with my friends. It represented freedom. My kids already had that online and on their phones, in their games. It was virtually invisible to me, but it was highly satisfying to them. This was meaningful, and I didn't get it. If my kids, now 22 and 26, were part of communities without physically being there, I should have immediately pushed my clients toward those communities to prepare for the future. I didn't. The switching costs were too great. And to find out how communities work now, we have to understand the world in which people don't care to get a driver's license. They already have communities built that transcend today's social trauma. A smart person told me this recently. Events were always missing giant pieces of an organization's audiences who didn't want to come to a particular event. And retention rates indicated that a lot of those people who did come didn't feel super connected to the community, even while they were there. Not being able to convene in person is the perfect opportunity to find a better way to bring communities together. This organization's whole thing was, you are not alone. People loved the walks, but they were tangibly not alone while they were there. But they were feeling part of a community. Unfortunately, being part of a community is not just one day. Another smart young person articulated something important to me just this morning. To other generations, yes, it might feel like we're creating more distance in terms of online communities. But to me, that person, I feel like I'm far more connected to my friends I communicate with online than people I see in person. I might see my family once a week in person, but I have more in-depth conversations with friends I communicate with on Google Hangouts, Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, etc., meaning there were even more. Additionally, she said, those conversations aren't just one-offs. For example, when my mom texts me, it's a means to an end. How are you? This happened today. But when a close friend texts me, it's an ongoing conversation that we have been having since the first time the 2 of us began to text each other. So how does community work right now? What's different about the new environment? Instead of just a few of our participants learning how to, for example, host a Zoom meeting with teammates, almost everybody in the world learned how in the last 15 days. If they had bandwidth and equipment, everybody can do what we're doing right now. The whole world now knows that you don't have to pack yourself in a car or get on a plane to meet in person in order to have a meaningful meeting. So the natural filter is beginning to change. And if we understand what's happening, just maybe we can catch that wave. Our challenge right now is to find, understand, and adopt those methods that, quite frankly, younger people, younger generations are effectively using to create and nurture communities. Forget for the moment fundraising in your product, because neither matter until we understand better the new nature of community and are able to make use of that knowledge. In some cases, it means creating new communities that are comfortable for your traditional participants. In other cases, you may need to enter existing communities like Discord, Facebook, and more. Do we understand some of it? Sure. Live stream fundraising helped us a little bit. But initially, when we approached the gaming community, thinking we could make them part of our community, that was wrong. Smart folk like Mike Kinney helped us understand that it would not work that way. We had to go into the gaming community, not the other way around. Once we decided to work inside that community, we became more successful. Likewise, those who support us on Facebook with Facebook fundraising, they don't like leaving Facebook. They don't want to interact with us the way we want them to, which is give me your email and I'm going to plug you into my CRM and I'm going to treat you exactly the way I treated your mom and your grandmom. While you'll get some, it's pretty much a hard no. Smart people like Good United are working furiously, standing up ways to interact with people inside Facebook, where that community lives and where the community enjoys two-way communication, unlike our habit of shouting at our constituents about us all the way up to event day, and then afterward, delivering recognition unobservably and in a one-way communication. This has always been about us and not about them. Live stream fundraising in the gaming space and Facebook fundraising gave us clues, and we did not get it. The cost of switching was just too high. The for-profit world has also trained our constituents to expect other things we are not providing, and they are reinforcing it as we sit at home and interact every day. They now expect a frictionless experience, a positive experience that demonstrates that you know me, and a very personalized experience. So this webinar is not just about how to switch your current property to virtual execution. While if your event is short-term, that is the only answer, we see that course as a failed endeavor over the mid and long term. This webinar is about redesigning with a different perception of community, how community works, and how your effort lives in the new version of community that we must now acknowledge. Does this mean that efforts that were previously virtual are okay and good to go? Absolutely not. The audience has changed. Are we saying you should never have an on-the-ground event? Absolutely not. People will want and they'll need that. It just can't be everything. And when we are able to physically gather again, there's precedent to indicate that we will exhibit our pent-up demand to be with each other. I mean, flappers happened after the Great Depression, right? This webinar is about understanding the underlying human need to have community and how you can give it to the people. Do that, give them community, you will raise money and you will do good. As in, you are do-gooders. Now I'm gonna quit my rant and I'm gonna hand it over to Megan, who will help you understand how to operationalize some of this. I'll jump in every once in a while because I can't help it, but here you go, Megan. Thanks.
Perfect, thank you. I don't think it was a rant. I think it was a great description of what is changing and what we've failed to acknowledge is changing. So I want to just kind of give an overview of what we're going to cover in the next 25 minutes. I want to set some expectations. I want your pens ready because I hope there are some things that you write down and take with you as you start looking at what this means for your organization. We would make a turnkey. I would personally make $1 billion if I could tell you in the next 25 minutes, here's exactly what you're going to go do for your organization when you get off this call, and you're going to raise millions of dollars doing it. That is not the case today. It is not a one-size-fits-all. Everything is going to be unique to your organization. The idea today is we're going to help provide the framework for those brainstorming sessions, the process of standing up a new event. We're going to give you expertise that we have at Turnkey, and we're going to give you some expertise that we have at some outside resources. So if you want specific help as you're diving into this, we are definitely happy to be a one-on-one resource with you. But today is a little bit more generalized in terms of how do I know where I want to go, how the heck do we get there? So I want to introduce, and some of you who have been attending our webinars, I was joking with Katrina today, I feel like we're the live weathermen at the side of a hurricane and it's pouring rain and we're standing out there and we're just delivering content. So I wanted to say thank you to our community who has allowed the grace of dogs barking in the back of our webinars, kids walking by and saying hello to screens. We are so passionate about giving this content when it's needed, and it's needed right now. So I say that because we've had several webinars with this beautiful woman right here on screen. Her name is Jen Shang, and she is a part of the Institute for Sustainable Philanthropy. I could not do her justice if I had a whole hour to talk about her. But I wanted just to highlight a couple of things that she does talk about in the webinars that we have on our website, which we will make sure you have a link to. She talks about how we all crave community. Katrina already said it about 10 times in her presentation. I'm going to say it 50 more times. If you write down no other words, community is something you have to focus on moving forward. We crave organized community, whether that's something we're already part of or we need to build, but community, community, community. She also talks about this idea of satisfaction. And I'm going to bring Katrina in right away to talk about this, but it's the ability to show confidence, autonomy, and connectedness. Katrina, break that down into layman's terms for us.
Sure. So what we know about human beings, and for those of you who don't know, we use an in-house social psychologist. And so we study, what is it that makes people keep doing something? Because really, if we could set them on a path and make them keep doing something, what would be the fuel for that? And what the fuel is turns out to be satisfaction. So what makes people satisfied? Incredibly and intensely studied by the social psychology community. And three things, there are three legs to this: the ability to show competence. Can I show improvement to myself and others? Can I increase my skills? Can I become a master, fill in the blank? Autonomy. Am I in charge of myself? Do I get to decide how I'm going to accomplish this thing? And then connectedness. That goes back to community. If there's an organized community, can I become connected to it in some way, shape, or form? Feeling part of something larger than myself. With those three things, you can pretty much get anybody to do anything. And that sounds like a broad statement, a bold statement. It's not. It's the way we work.
Yep. So these pillars, these ideas that Katrina just laid out for us, is really the foundation of everything we're talking about today. Every single technique or win or story that I'm going to tell can all be brought back to these three things. So just keep that in mind as we go forward. Another way I like to say this is, I love the memes. I don't know who needs to hear this today, but it is not about you. One of my favorite quotes is, you can make more friends in 2 months by becoming interested in other people than you can in 2 years by trying to tell other people what to be interested in you. And that comes from How to Win Friends and Influence People. So Jen Shang is one of the experts I'm going to be bringing in for some of this conversation. I also have a in-house expert. We have been spending a lot of time in closed doors with those that we love, and I happen to be married to a marketing and e-commerce I would say expert. I think he's brilliant, and he has helped many brands come through and figure out, how do we build online brand? How do we get people to stop going to the store and buy online? Or how do we enhance this? So I also brought in some of the, what are our friends in for-profit doing? We've been seeing some things with brands that we like, but what does it mean behind that? And what does this look like for us? So one of the things that I really want to talk to him about are, what are some best practices for e-commerce and marketing in the for-profit world? And one of the studies that he shared with me talks about feeling connected to a brand, very similar to what Jen Shang said, just different words. You have to trust the brands. It has to align with your personal values, and you want to be understood. It's a two-way street. The brand's not talking at you. You're part of this brand. It's part of your identity. One of the stories he tells is, you as the organization or a company, you don't own your brand. You are Batman. And your constituents, your followers, your lovers, your supporters, that's Gotham. And your job is to kind of protect Gotham and make sure that they don't go all the way in the wrong and help fight some crime. But Gotham is Gotham. And so you really have to let go of some of that control. And I know that is going to be very hard for a lot of organizations. And we've got some therapy along in this presentation, because some of this is letting go and letting your constituents take a bigger role in the experience and the branding overall. So we have been challenging ourselves to kind of not change everything to what Katrina said. There are things that are working and things that have gotten beliefs and understanding that have gotten us to where we are that are successful. What we're challenging ourselves to do at Turnkey, and you as well, is we got to enhance what we've always thought. So we used to say, okay, we know people participate because of these things. They love our organization. Do they love our organization? Or do they love the way our organization makes them feel, helps them feel that satisfaction and that increased well-being? They love the activity. Do they love the activity? Does everybody like getting up on a Saturday morning at early and getting the kids in the van and driving down to that walk? Is that really what they love? Or do they love the joy that they experience during that activity, the community that they're seeing? What do they actually love about this? Loving the community. Do they love the community that we set up for them? Again, they love the way it makes them feel. Katrina, did I do that justice? I want Jen Shang to be proud of me right now.
I think she would be proud of you. This is hard. This is really hard. Our default language has been us language. They love us. No, they don't. No, they don't. They don't love us. They love the opportunities that we give them to make them feel better and to tell their story. So, we've heard donor centricity for years, but we never thought that we should take those ideas and we should apply them to our event design. And it seems like an easy thing to do, and like maybe we're doing it, but we're not doing it. We're not doing it. We are designing from the point of view of the organization and not from the point of view of the needs of the individual, which is the only way this is going to work. And I'll go back to Relay for Life. They did it accidentally. They didn't understand it. They had the good sense to say, wow, this horse is running pretty fast. I'm going to let it run. And what was running was that they were deeply satisfying experiences that they were providing to primarily their volunteer leadership, who were exhibiting gobs of autonomy as they were interacting. So my staff is sick of me right now. Like Megan's sick of me right now because I'm literally editing the way that we talk. We have been reinforcing this idea that they love the activity. No, they don't. They don't love the activity. They love the way it makes them feel. And there are a lot of different ways to get there. And that's what we're talking about today, all the different ways to get to helping them be satisfied and have increased well-being. Okay, done.
Thank you. I'm going to skim over these a little bit, but we have, like I mentioned before, a link that we'll send out that has a lot of content that we've put out. We have done a lot of content around how do we communicate in this time. What we're learning about how to communicate during COVID-19, though, doesn't just stick in this time when COVID-19 is happening, and then we forget all of these new things that we started incorporating and learning. So we had a webinar on Monday with Otis from Turnkey and Jen Shang as well. And we did a follow-up virtual coffee small group conversation yesterday. And I thought Jen just laid this out really well, and I wanted to share it. It's when you're thinking about, again, it's not about me. I think we're going to have to repeat that about 55 times on this call together. When you're thinking about your people and how you're getting the mission out there, one of the things she says to start with is, how do my people feel right now? And right now we're talking about a crisis. So right now people may feel out of control, or they are anxious, or they're stressed. What difference do I want to make for my people when they feel that way? But this is the one I wanted to highlight specifically on this call, is what can I give my donors or my constituents that only I can put in their hands? And I think that is so powerful when we start thinking about framing up a new event or campaign. Is why? Like, why does anybody else care about it? Yes, I think it's a great idea because I came up with it and I should get a raise and a promotion, but why will my constituents care about this? What can I give them that only my organization, can give them? So I have a little story I wanted to share. Sorry, I lost my mouse. So my in-house expert, Jeff Harris, my e-commerce marketing guy, slash husband, depending on which hat he's wearing in this role. So we were talking about love in the activity, and this is one of my most favorite brand stories. We moved to Buffalo, New York. Shout out to anyone who's in a cold state right now. I am no longer there. I don't know how you're doing it, but one of the things he talked about are when we went to New Era. New Era is the hat company, and they would kick me. They say cap, but everyone's like, are you saying cat? They're the hat company that has all of the licenses for sports, for sporting teams. They have baseball, they have football. If you have seen a New Era hat in your lifetime, if you've ever watched a baseball game, that's how they started. It's all New Era hats. So Spike Lee is who you're looking at on the screen. He called and said, hey, I want a red Yankees hat. And they were like, whoa, Yankees hats aren't red. They're black, or no, ooh, sorry. They're navy, they're white. They are not red. We do not do this. And someone said, wait. Should we do this? Is this something we should look at? Should we be listening to our people and what they're asking for? So Spike Lee wanted this red hat, the Yankees cap, to go with his red ensemble that he was wearing to a playoff baseball game. So it was in 1996, it was a World Series game. And he just wanted to, look a little dapper. They made it happen. They jumped through all these hoops. They got the permission from the league, and they made it happen. And I wanted to share this quote from Chris. He says, it changed our business forever. Before the red Yankees cap came, our business was providing hats to professional teams and college teams and minor teams. And it's what they wore on the field during the games. There was no fashion side of this business at all. I mean, people wore Yankees caps, yes, but all for different reasons. No one wore a different color. This was unheard of. This changed our business model forever, and has become something where the fashion side of our business is now half of what we do now. all by changing one hat, one yes, and they listened to what their people were asking for. It completely changed their business. I want to tell another story about myself, actually. We were talking about loving the activity. Team Rooster is something that I took part of, I created as in memory of my dad. I lost my dad 20 years ago in 2015. And so my mom and I were at happy hour and we came up with this crazy idea, because that's where all good ideas come from. And we said, I'm going to do 20 endurance events across the country, and my goal is to raise $100,000. I'm the perfect example of this. Do I love to run? Heck no, I don't love to run. But running, this activity, gives me the power. I feel powerful when I can run and I can tell this story. I feel like I'm carrying out my dad's legacy, because his back, or on my back of my jersey, is my dad's face. He crosses every finish line ever. I have all of my medals. My dad's picture has been on my jersey for every single one of these. It's a way to feel connected to my dad. It's a way to tell his story. It's a way to show my passion for the mission. One of the cool things about Team Rooster at the end of the year, when we did hit that $100,000 goal, and actually it was closer to $150,000, I got to name a research grant that a researcher was given. It had my dad's name, and I'm sure it paid for their coffee, because that's not much money for researchers, but I was in control of that experience and how that impacted my family. Katrina, did you come off mute to say something there?
No. You're good. I'm clapping. I'm cheering.
And then the next thing we talk about is that I love the community. My favorite example of community is the AIDS Life Cycle Love Bubble. I had the opportunity to go work this event a couple years ago, and while you would think sleeping in a tent for 7 days, going down the coast of California would be, if you're not a camper, it sounds terrible. It was the most incredible experience of my life. Here is a community of people who all look different, all come from different backgrounds, and some of these people are not accepted in their day-to-day lives. But in the AIDS life, in the community, the love bubble, everyone is accepted. Everyone is supported. I came back with this saying, and my husband makes fun of me, but I literally felt like, girl, you want to be a butterfly? Go be a butterfly. We will support you, whatever your dreams are, whatever this thought is. The organization plays their Batman card, and they help with this love bubble. If you aren't following the rules and helping with the safety, or if they see you outwardly be mean to someone, which is not a thing, they pull your bike and you don't get to ride during the event for one of the days. This love bubble is the ultimate example of community that I can think of. I want to take a pause here, and I want everyone to think about a community that they're a part of. It could be your church, it could be a workout class, it could be an online group of new moms trying to figure out how the heck do we get through this. Just think about a place where you just feel so connected and passionate and accepted by a sense of community, whatever that looks like, online, virtual, in person, whatever that might be. And I want you to take your pen or type down, or this is the one time you're allowed to use your phone during this presentation. I want you to write down what the first thing that comes to your mind is when you think about that community. Is it support? Is it connectedness? Is it best friends? Is it's my safe place? It's my comfort zone. It's my group that pushes me to work out on days that I'd rather just sit on the couch and eat ice cream. They help me be better. How does being a member of that community make you feel? And then the last question around that is, how do you connect with that community? Katrina told a lot of stories about, that texting, or now her mom is video chatting, but how do you stay in connection with that community? Because that is what we need for our organizations and for our programs. My husband, my in-house expert, always says, people like your brand, but on, our community and our interaction with them, that's how we help them become lovers of our brand or our organization or our mission. So they already like us. You just have to work on enhancing that. And then, of course, my marketing expert was like, if you're going to talk about marketing, you got to have some for-profit stats in here. So I'll just read these really quickly. 78% of consumers want brands to use social to help people connect with each other. 78% say, help me connect. And the cool thing is, when they feel connected, 57% will increase their spending, so i.e. donations or fundraising, and 76% will continue with you over going with somebody else that might look like you. I think that is so powerful. We live in a world where we we joke about, I don't want to put on pants and I don't want to go out and do whatever, but we all crave that connection.
So Megan, one point there, I think the operative phrase in your top line is help people connect with each other. That's not something we've really focused on doing in nonprofit. We wanted to shout at our people and maybe we'd let them whisper back, but we didn't ever think about connecting them with each other and opening those avenues, which implies some risk.
Right.
It is what it is. Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, so do I need to pause for questions or keep rolling? I'm sorry, I cannot manage the questions in the slideshow. I'm an elder millennial.
You're in good shape. So Chris wants to know, was Team Rooster a DIY thing?
Team Rooster was a yes and no. It was a hybrid. I created Team Rooster. I went to team and training events that were being offered, but they don't offer 20 events that I was doing. So it was it was a hybrid. Yes, I had friends and family join. I told my story along the way, but it was a DIY experience. That money went to team and training. So yes. Okay, we're going to talk about some techniques and what this means. Some of these I'm going to speed through because I want to make sure we have time for for questions at the end. But we talk about buy-in a lot. So if these are tips, nope, I got in trouble for tips and tricks. These are techniques that we see in our for-profit space, and as well as when we help our clients, when we've stood up these new campaigns. If you don't do these things, they will not succeed. Even if you have the greatest idea, you've come up with a campaign that will surpass Movember and Charity Water, and you have this brilliant nugget and you're ready to deploy it, it won't be successful unless you do these things. Buy-in. I talk about this all the time, and this is actually a picture from our wedding. In the middle is my Aunt Sissy. She lives in our town now. She has early onset Alzheimer's. And every time she comes over, she's always worked up about, I hate people telling me what to do. And I don't know why, but as an adult, when I heard that, I thought, well, yeah, duh. No one likes to do it. We tell kids what to do, but as an adult, like, yeah, I don't like that. My dog doesn't even like it when I tell him, hey, it's time to do whatever. And so I always think about her when I think about buy-in. One, we have to start with our constituents. If New Era Cap had just decided, let's just make a red Yankees hat, let's just try it out. If they had ever come up with that idea, would it have been as successful than if someone else had asked for it and they had been able to just organically promote it? So we've got to get that buy-in from the at the very beginning of the stage. And like I said, you can create that wonderful nugget of, this is what we're going to do for our next campaign. Does it hit all these boxes? Do your people care about this or want to do this? A lot of times the answer lives within your constituent base. We got to talk to them and see what they want and what they need. You also need organizational buy-in in terms of helping support the campaign. Again, you could have the best campaign, but if your team of 5 is promoting it over here and the organization has something else over here, it's never going to get off the ground. It's got to be accepted by the entire organization. And by bought in, I don't just mean, okay, we put it on the marketing calendar and let's do it. No, we're all doing it. Our CEO is growing a mustache and everyone's participating in whatever this campaign or activity might look like. Volunteer leadership. I just want to tag this really quick. We actually did a webinar on Wednesday that talks about the importance of volunteer leadership, both now and in the future. If you ever have a conversation one-on-one with someone from Turnkey, volunteer leadership will come up. We believe this. This is our bread and butter. But we fully believe that when you're starting a new campaign, a new activity, it starts with your community and it starts at the base. And the volunteers are what make your organization what it is. Your volunteers are more satisfied and more engaged than even some of your best donors because they're taking action and being involved in multiple levels. So you have got to get volunteer leadership involved, not only when you're ready to roll out the campaign, but developing the campaign as well.
So Megan, I would jump in there. We will beat this drum until you're sick of it because we're trying to retrain our brains to think about the way we design in a different way. And with volunteers, the reason that they're so engaged is because we've met their psychological needs. We've given them autonomy, the best ones. We've recognized them for their competence by putting them in leadership, which is in and of itself a form of recognition. And they're part of something bigger. They get to be more connected to your organization and maybe most importantly, to each other than other people.
Yep. Thank you. Make it about me, not you. Again, it is not about me, right? So we have multiple webinars I keep linking back to because I want to keep moving forward with this content. But the one thing I will say here is we've done a really good job of taking the first steps to do that you-centric communication. So you'll hear volunteer leadership, you'll hear you-centric communication. That's a change for a lot of organizations we work with, but we're doing a really good job in terms of that you-centric for our donors. But that doesn't necessarily carry into our event space or our fundraisers. And so really taking a hard look at, is all of our communication you-centric and putting our constituents first, or is it only bits and pieces? It's got to roll over to your peer-to-peer offerings as well.
And the design of the event itself should be you-centric as opposed to organizationally required. You know, the business requirements that we typically design for an event and then we try and meet often have nothing to do with the needs of the constituent.
Yep.
For satisfaction.
Absolutely. A diverse portfolio. So by no means are we saying, get rid of the walk, get rid of the ride, get rid of your physical campaign. It's all got to be brand new now. Absolutely not. Your campaigns that you're currently running in your peer-to-peer space, they're working, right? Whether they have been growing, they've been flat, even if they're declining a little, they are funding your mission right now. Do not get rid of all of them. We need to look at them and enhance them and apply what we're learning. We also have to have a diverse portfolio. You know, I have the story of when you go shopping. So if I go to the Gap, if Katrina and I are having a girls' day, and that's not what we do on our girls' day, but for this example, we're walking into the Gap. Katrina could walk out with 6 pairs of brand new jeans. Well, I'm 6'3", and not one pair of jeans is going to fit me in Gap. I can get away with a little bit of the short ones because those are really trendy right now. Thank you, influencers, for making those popular again. But it just doesn't work for me. I'm a giant. I can't buy the clothes. So do I just not get an experience, or do I not get to be a customer of Gap? No, they have a diversified portfolio. Oh, you need extra sizes, whether those are larger sizes, longer sizes, smaller sizes, petite, whatever it is. Visit gap.com, and now I can have jeans too. So Katrina and I can wear our matching pants. We just had different experiences or different ways of getting to that end result. So I think you really have to diversify that. 1, so all of your eggs aren't in one basket. 2, you're growing into new demographics, new experiences, new types of community. But right now, as our Kelly, our marketing guru said, is we're all 6'3". We all are home online. None of us got to go in the store and have that experience. So what happens when that works? And so we just have to keep that portfolio diversified and have different offerings for people who want to engage with us.
And I think you make a good point, but also, you know, everybody's 6'3" today, but some people don't know how to get online. You know, that's the situation that we are facing. You can't go to the store, and I'm not good at being online. So how do I do that? I don't have an online community. I don't have any way to engage. That's the dilemma we're facing today.
Yep. Want to talk about joy and urgency in a different way than I think we have talked about them before, or maybe it just started making sense in my brain the last couple of weeks as we've been talking about it. When you go to an event, whatever that is, a physical event, there's some type of joy, whether that joy at a walk is the survivor ceremony for you, whether it's walking with your mom who is a patient, whether it's watching your kids play in the kids zone, whatever it is, there is a sense of joy. And Vicki, our lead strategist, talks about you have to have joy replacement, right? So if I slap a virtual tag on event, and now I've taken the physical event away, and we're doing it all online, I have to have joy. Our people have to feel whatever they were experiencing before in the same way or more than they were before. So how are we doing that? What are we creating the joy from? And so I'm going to share this example of, again, living in Buffalo, New York at the time. I needed to raise $1,000 remaining balance for a team and training event. It was 3 feet of snow outside. And I was like, I don't know what to do. I got on my brand new bike. I joined Facebook Live. This is before this was as common. This was several years ago. It was 2 years ago. And I just said, you know what? I'm going to talk to my community. And I just said, I'm going to ride this bike until we raise $1,000. I really hope we do this in a reasonable amount of time. But if it takes 3 days, I'm going to be on this bike. And I'm going to be here telling really bad dad jokes, interacting with people who joined and watched and thanking them as they donated. But I'm just going to be here. That joy for me was, 1, I got to tell my story. I got to talk about my dad. I got to tell terrible jokes. I got to interact with people who I know and love. And that was really joyful for me. And then I also had that sense of urgency. Hey, I'm going to be on this bike and you're going to see me in your Facebook feed until we hit this goal. So the urgency, I want us to think about finessing this and changing the way we talk about urgent messaging for our campaigns. I'm not beating you over the head with now, buy, do. But we're creating a framework to where we're saying it without saying it. Like, I'm going to be here. Please help me and get my butt off this bike. So I think we just need to start looking through that joy and urgency through different lenses. We talk a lot about being authentic. I'm going to highlight this one really quick. If you don't follow Movember, you should sign up for a fundraiser and give them a $50 donation or raise $100 for them as being a good steward of stealing all of their stuff. But they are awesome. I love this. Give a mo, or grow a mo, save a bro. Anytime you interact with this brand, that is exactly the messaging that they have. It is very fun. It is lighthearted. We work with so many organizations where it's very serious and legal had to approve it and all these people touched it. By the time you get it, it's like a form letter that you're like, I don't even know how to, I got to like interpret what this means. They're so authentic and true to like their Mo Nation. It is so fun. So I highly encourage, that's my personal favorite. We highlight authentic.
All right. Let me weigh in on that. We collaborate with one copywriter who, when he writes his contracts, part of the contract is that you don't get to edit my copy. Reaction to, when, as Megan said, when everyone touches it, any strategy that you had to be youth-centric is gone by the time it goes through everybody's hands, including the person who just graduated from college who has a literature degree. And we see that happen a lot. We see it hit the legal department and get so bastardized that you can't even understand what the ask is anymore because it's been caveated to death. It doesn't work. It's not worth doing if we're going to do it that way.
Okay, I see like the red flag waving, hey, get off the stage. I'm going to run through my last slides really, really quick so we can get to questions. I would like to preface with, if we don't answer your question live, we will follow up and make sure all questions are answered. So we talk a lot about community. Not only is it important to have a sense of community, I almost fell out of my chair. My husband and I were talking about this last night. So I'm all in on community. I get it. Well, we also have to have this personalized, tailored experience. I'm like, which one is it? And he said, it's not which one, it's not an or, it's an and. So I put Netflix up here and shopping. These are perfect examples. But I think about that all the time of, hey, I came to your organization via walk. Has anyone ever suggested to me, like, you also might like this, or how are we tailoring that? They're telling us what they want to be involved in. We have real-time data. What are we doing and how are we utilizing that to just give a tailored experience? Community, get it, we've talked about it. One of the things I just want to highlight here is influencers. We hear that in the for-profit world and the nonprofit space, and we spent, my husband and I spent a lot of time talking about this last week. And this is something that Turnkey fundamentally believes in. Your influencers are already your best performing influencers for your brand, for your organization, for your community. They exist in your constituent base. They love you. They have weathered the storm. They have been with you through good and bad. You need to tap into them and to use them so they can help and you can empower them to go be advocates for your organization. User-generated content, again, stop talking at me. Your constituents create amazing content. How are you utilizing it? One of the things we joke about is if you don't need another time suck in your life, plug your ears. But we downloaded TikTok the last, 2 weeks ago. I spend so much time just mindlessly flipping and watching these silly videos. This is a nice escape. It's 100% user content. This is why we check Facebook multiple times a day. It's what our friends are generating and how our communities are talking. What's important is what we've said all along is, hey, share our content on Facebook, share our content on social media. No, it's the other way around. You share what they're posting. You help connect them. How are you sharing the content?
Hey, Megan, just a moment. If you have a question, I know a couple people raised their hands. If you could put the question in the Q&A box so that we can read out loud so everyone can hear, that would be great. Thanks.
This is just one of my favorite examples. This is Forever 21. They actually have a hashtag, and when you use that hashtag, it pulls your content into a site on their page. What's really cool about this is I'm seeing what other people like at Forever 21, but then when I click on this, I can actually shop that post too and say, I really like that pink shirt. Well, here it is, girl. It's in your cart. So using user content to help your strategy. And then the last part is, this is so important, set realistic goals. your physical event, whether it's a walk, a run, a ride, a bear hug, whatever you have, it didn't hit the revenue it's at now in year one, maybe even year two. And so I really like this example of e-commerce. Online shopping went up 17% last year, and that was $38 billion. I would be happy with a 17% increase in anything I do. When you look at in-store, they went up 3.5%. It was $144 billion. So we're not telling you to not keep focusing and retweaking and reworking and modifying what's already working. We're diversifying that portfolio. All right, I'm going to skip to the questions. Oh, if you heard nothing else, it's not about you. It's not about you. It's not about you and community. Those were the most important things we wanted to drive home today.
Yeah.
All right, questions.
I would layer in, Megan, that it feels like a simple thing to do. Say, of course, it's not about me. We all believe that we already do that, and it's hard to do. I'll give you an example. We've been coaching people on copywriting heavily for the last 3 weeks, and in an effort to get them use-centric, they'll send us what they do. And a good example is, here is what someone wrote who thought they had transitioned to use-centric copy. The sentence read, "Will you support us in helping save the children?" Every time you use the word we or us, you separate yourself from the constituent. Your goals and your aspirations are different if you have to separate yourself. Instead, the question should have been, will you save the children? The organization is just a conduit to help you save the children and to get the satisfaction and well-being of being someone who saves the children. So, event design is just that difficult. Our default mode is me, us, we. That is our default mode, not you. It is not easy. It's not clear. So, okay, we are at 5 minutes till. If you got questions, we'd love to hear them. I know this is frustrating. I know it's hard. And I know, we're using language that sounds familiar, but actually doing it is not familiar. We have not been use-centric with our constituents very often. And the people who are succeeding wildly, the people who aren't, which, are a lot of the older properties are not. So, all right, either people are typing furiously or completely devastated. I got a couple of people with hands raised, but I need you to type your question in if you could, instead of raising your hand. The Q&A box is down at the bottom.
I'm just going to run through a couple of these really quick. One of the questions was, what is the love bubble? I don't know if that's the official name. So AIDS Life Cycle, they do an event where you ride from San Francisco to LA on a bicycle in a week, 7 days. And so the love bubble is what their community has been called. And that is, if you ever experience it, there's literally no other word. It is truly a love bubble.
We have a question from Chris who says, what do you suggest we do to maintain mission message during this time when people are only thinking of COVID-19? Don't want to sound tone deaf. In fact, there are 2 webinars that address that in depth on our homepage. It's right on the front page. We talk about, at 2 different levels of specificity, exactly what to say right now. And to summarize it for you, which you really should watch the videos to do this well, to summarize it for you is, the message in the moment is this: if Megan's my constituent and I go out to Megan and I say, Megan, we need help right now. Megan's like, really? Because I need help right now. And what I have done is force a choice on Megan's part to choose either the nonprofit's mission or her family and her personal safety. We don't want to force that choice right now. So it's called permission messaging. The permission is permission to take care of yourself. We know you love the mission. We hope you're okay, and we'll be back later. That's it. If there's an ask, it's very soft and it's at the end. Yep. If you can connect yourself, go ahead.
We took that to a next level as well with Jen in our coffee chat too, is there are some organizations that need funding now, whether they're helping COVID patients or whatever this means. Like, we need help now. And it's exactly what Katrina just said on a more personal basis. So we have followers and people who love us that care and that are okay. They are working from home. They did not lose their job. Everyone will eat and the lights will stay on, and they are okay. And it's with those people who it's okay to ask for help, but how do we do that? And so we talked a lot about using our high-level volunteers, and people who love us to have one-on-one conversations and just call up and say, how are you doing? Oh, you're doing great. Like, let me tell you about what's going on and why we need this. And so while we keep saying it, we have a webinar about it's crass to fundraise right now. We understand that it has to happen for some organizations. And that's something that is an ongoing conversation, I think, within our expertise and in our walls of what does that look like? And it's exactly that. It starts with the permission.
Yeah. Another question from Quinn. What are your recommendations for reaching and engaging folks that aren't online to help them participate in a virtual event? That's a great question. That's the hard one today, isn't it? We've identified that a lot of these people are going to be filtered out. The movement from on the ground to online will filter them out. So what do you do? We'll both answer this because they might be different answers. Keeping in mind that the answers to these questions are typically done in a robust engagement that includes both consultants like that and like us and people like you in a room for a good long while and a lot of coffee. So, but my immediate response would be this: go to your current constituents who are highly engaged and ask them to help you. We know these people, unless they're really lucky, they're not going to all of a sudden get online. It's going to be a transition for some of them. Some, like my mom, made the hop, but to use her as an example, she still needs assistance to get online, to see us. So using your constituents who are able and willing to reach out via telephone and email, which are methods that have been working for that crowd, would be the way to go. And in the course of doing that, the people whom you ask to do the reaching out, your affinity will skyrocket with those people. Just asking for help is so important. We've said this in several webinars, but if the 2007-9 financial crisis taught us anything, it's that the current constituent is the one to pay attention to right now. And by asking them to help, by giving them a job, you are paying attention to them and you're solving your other problem. Megan, anything else on that?
I would take it back to the very first thing I talked about with being the foundation of everything we talked about today, or Jen's 3 questions. What do they feel now? They feel abandoned that their walk is gone. They feel like your organization did the right thing, the walk is gone, or whatever this is. How are they feeling? What can we do to help them change how they feel, make a difference in the way they feel? And then what can you give them that no one else can? So not about you. Yes, I would love for you to come to my virtual event as your constituent. Why? Why do I care? What's in it for me? What's my joy? Help them see it. Katrina's mom's a great example that she just touched on is, why do I don't care about this? Well, now it's a necessity. And now she wants to see her grandbabies and things like that. And once she had the tools and learned how, she probably does it all the time. I'm surprised she hasn't FaceTimed me yet. So you really have to take a step back. And I think that's what we keep saying is it's so hard. What is in it for them? Why? Why do they care? What's in it for them?
Another question, during the love bubble slide that you had, Megan, love the community struck out, but I don't remember why. Love the community struck out, but I don't remember why. Can you go back and drive that point home, please?
Yep. Everybody close your eyes and clicking fast. Was it back here? So I think one of the things that stuck out to me the most is this is a safe place for everybody that was there. These are people who, some of them are thriving in their identity. Some of them are not accepted in their community. Some of them aren't even out in their communities. And in this love bubble, you literally can do, be, say anything you want. There are crazy costumes. There are crazy ideas. There are AA meetings during nighttime at camp. There are small group meetups at camp because it is truly a time you can connect with people from all over the country in one place who are struggling, thriving, whatever it might be, with the exact same thing that you are. And it is unbelievable. Everyone should go do this event. I just plugged them. They had to cancel their event this year, but that is what stuck out to me the most about the Love Bubble is we're providing, and it's not orchestrated at all by the organization or the staff. I mean, they provide, here's a tent you can have your meeting in or whatever, but all of these people, it's organically happening because they're all truly invested in that sense of community. This is their world, their people.
Megan, can you go to the slide that we didn't use at the end about discovery, recommendations, execution? We have a question from Lisa who asked, where do you suggest someone to start when they've never done any virtual fundraising or events? I'm going to show you the process that we use and whether you use it in-house with us or with someone else.
I didn't. I changed that graphic, but
Oh,
yes,
you did.
this is where we would talk about it. So we start with discovery, and that is where we just dive into anything and everything that has existed. We talk to staff, we talk to key stakeholders, we do competitive analysis. We whether that's P2P or other marketing, we look at technology review too. Again, we've talked a lot about this frictionless experience. We just look at everything. And it takes a while. I mean, there's a lot of things to uncover. Then we go into an ideation forum session, and that's where we are teaching the importance and the relevancy of peer-to-peer fundraising. You know, when you're talking to a major gifts team or a corporate sponsorship team or direct mail, why do I care if you're only going to make $1 million in a year? We make that in the month of December or whatever it might be. So you have to get that buy-in and that understanding of, this is where we're going to start, this is how we're going to get there, and this is why it's important. We want you to be part of the process of figuring out what that nugget is at the end that we push our people to. And then we follow up with our initial recommendations of, one, what that maybe could be, and then two, how are you going to get that movement, that support, that community, get all of these things we've talked about today on board to make sure that nugget is successful.
And I think the biggest part of the process is maintaining discipline to the needs of the constituent versus discipline to the needs of the organization and the mission. And that sounds really weird and awkward, but it just doesn't work any other way. You know, if I'm only thinking about the organization and the mission, and I'm not thinking about the needs of the constituent, it's just not going to work. Okay. And then I would layer in there, having your constituents be part of that process. Very important. Anonymous attendee says, so don't love the community, build it. Love the community. So the slide where we said, love the community, that's why people do things. The point we're trying to make is that they don't do things because they love the community. The community gives them the ability to experience well-being and satisfaction. So that's what we mean when we say it's really not about loving the community. The other point is, if there is no community, then yes, we do have to build it. You know, there's a segment of people right now who are not going to easily transition online. It's going to be hard for them. One of the webinars we'll be doing the next couple of 3 weeks is one about accessibility. You know, we're asking an audience that doesn't see very well and doesn't hear very well and is not very adept on online tools to be so. And that's going to be hard. So we're bringing in an expert to talk about, how do I make this easier for older people or people with low bandwidth even to access the communities that we're trying to build. So, you know, I think Megan's point about a diversified portfolio is important. What we're doing to our portfolio right now is trying to drop barriers. We're dropping barriers and creating communities by doing so.
Yeah, I think I just want to add to that too, in terms of, you know, building or nurturing or loving a community or whatever that looks like. Katrina hit on this a little bit with live streaming. Let's say I'm looking at my portfolio and I say, wow, I have no millennials. So I'm a boomer, I'm going to come up with a millennial campaign. I'm going to throw it online and all the millennials are going to swarm in. Well, that's not reality. That's not reality at all. And so working with communities, building communities, or starting at the level of community before you just dive into something you really don't know anything about and are wishful thinking at that point.
Yeah. I would add one story. I have 2 millennial kids, young men, and they are both dating. Yay, wonderful young women. And one of the things they've pointed out to me over many dinners and glasses of wine is that these people are skipping over us. They're going direct to mission, meaning there's a lot of fundraising happening right now in a peer-to-peer fashion that is delivering money directly to people in need. Now, that's great. We love it. But, you know, we're never going to accomplish legislative priorities that way. We're never going to do research that way. But we have to look at that dynamic and understand it. What are we not giving them that is meeting their need, that they have to get that need met in a different way to give money? Because when you give money, when you support a nonprofit, you are really telling a story about yourself. And for whatever reason, we're not letting them tell their story the way that we're interacting right now. So we are at 11:08. Everybody left on this call is 8 minutes late for their next meeting. I'm sorry.
Or their lunch.
Or lunch. So thanks everybody. We really appreciate you being here. There will be more content forthcoming, which you can link off our homepage. If you have ideas for things that you need right now, questions you need answered, please hit us up and we will do our best to put some content together for you. Thank you so much. Thank you for what you do. Bye-bye.
Thank you.